All right, are we ready? Great. Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for taking time to come along this evening. Half of you don't know me, but you've placed some sort of confidence in me to share something enlightening, interesting, useful with you this evening. So I really do hope that you can take away a few points that are very actionable, that are going to be able to help you on your mission to achieving your health and fitness goals. Okay, so my name's Ellie McGuinness. A little bit about me. I have been in the health and fitness industry for about 15 years, and throughout that time I've worked as a trainer, I've worked as a group fitness instructor, studio management, fitness management. I've worked as a course tutor for upcoming PTs, worked on board the largest cruise ship in the world, and a few other bits and bobs. So that's what I've done for the majority of the past 15 years. But 18 months ago, all changed a little bit, and I gave birth to my beautiful wee daughter, Ayla. And I thought, how can I continue to spread the message of health, but be able to optimise the time that I spend with her and be the mum that I wanted to be. So since that time, I wrote and published my first book last year, Burning Fat for Good. So a few of you have read that already, I know, and a few of you have got a copy to take away this evening. I've got a few more copies there too, so if you want to flick through them at the end, then please feel free. So I did that last year. That took up most of the year, and I find myself doing things like this, delivering seminars and starting to go a little bit more online so that I can still fulfill my purpose as a mum, but also be able to fulfill my other purpose, which is spreading the message of health. So thank you so much for coming along. Now, the topic of this evening's seminar is slip up, but don't give up. Okay, so it's all about recognising that there are lots and lots of challenges that come up in life, okay, towards achieving your health and fitness goals, and it's about accepting that those are going to come up and then having a little bit of a plan in place for when they do, so that you don't fall completely off track. You might have a day off, or you might need to have a week off if you're sick, but that you do bounce back and you get back on and focus on that goal that you had originally set. Okay, and we're going to split this evening into three main sections. So the first section we're going to talk about is attitudes and affirmations. Okay, so we're going to have a look at your attitude towards slip-ups and see if you've got any unhelpful attitudes that might be holding you back. And then we'll have a look at what are some more empowering sort of attitudes that we could have. And coupled with that, we'll look at a few affirmations that can help us to actually change our attitude. The second part, we'll be looking at barriers. Okay, so barriers are the things that get in the way of us achieving our goals. Okay, so they're all the things that pop up. I'm too busy, I've got family commitments and such and such. So it's just about identifying what your main barriers are, because they're going to be different from everybody else in the room. And after we've talked about that, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker for this evening, which is the lovely Lisa Press in the back corner there. So Lisa's going to tell you a little bit about what she's achieved over the past few years in health and fitness, which is absolutely phenomenal. But she's also going to share a few of the slip-ups that she's perhaps had, a few of the barriers that she's had, and then how she's got back on track from those. Okay, and then the final section we'll be talking about strategies. So we'll be making sure that when those barriers do pop up, that you've got a plan in place to actually get back on track. Okay, so it'll all take about an hour, so you'll be out of here before 8:30. I know that lots of you got families to go back to. And can I just ask that you'll check that your phones are off as well. Now, the seminar is being recorded, but it is just on me. Now, there might be a little bit of interaction in terms of if you want to share some of the things that you're writing down along the way. If you do want to say something but you want it to be edited out afterwards, then that is fine. Just come and tell me at the end so that I can make a note of that. But your face won't be on there, it'll just be your voice. So I want to make this available online in the future as well. Okay, so is everyone here for this? Yep, right seminar? Good. So we'll start with the first section, which is your attitude towards slip-ups. Okay, now a very common attitude that I come across regularly is a start Monday mentality. Okay, so how many of you have ever had a slip up? Okay, so perhaps you've eaten a cupcake that you weren't supposed to, or you've missed an exercise session and you've gone, I've ruined my entire week now, so I'll just start again next Monday. Hands up if anyone's ever done that. It's a really, really common one. So this is the first sort of attitude to identify, do you have a start Monday mentality? Because that's the first type of unhelpful attitude. If you have a start Monday mentality, you're going to be in a very inconsistent pattern, okay? You're never going to get the consistency that you need to actually create a habit, okay? So at the moment, this is just about recognizing, what sort of attitudes do I have? So start Monday. Second type of attitude, do you have the attitude that in order to be, I guess failure is bad? Does anyone think that failure is bad? So that's another kind of thing that I come across. But what you need to realize is that successful people fail all the time. Okay, they slip up and they fail again and again and again until they achieve the goal that they want to. Okay, so all the most famous successful people have slipped up many times, and I've actually got a number of examples here that I wanted to read to you of people that you will have heard of, just so that you can realize how true this is. So Walt Disney was fired by a newspaper editor because he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Okay, so several more of his businesses failed before the premiere of his movie Snow White. Okay, and so today most childhoods wouldn't be the same without his ideas. Second, Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job as an anchor in Baltimore, where she said she faced sexism and harassment. Okay, that could be enough just to be like, I give up, I'm never doing this again. Okay, but we all know that she went on to become the undisputed queen of television talk shows. Today, she's worth an estimated $2.9 billion. Okay, now these are examples outside of the health and fitness industry, outside of health and fitness, but the principle is exactly the same. Okay, so these people, they came across failures, they slipped up many times before they found that success. Thomas Edison's teachers told him he was too stupid to learn anything. Okay, so he went on to hold more than 1,000 patents and invented some world-changing devices like the phonograph, practical electrical lamp, and a movie camera. Steven Spielberg was twice rejected by the University of California School of Cinema Arts. Okay, he went on to create the first summer blockbuster with Jaws in 1975 and has won 3 Academy Awards. I'll just give you one more. J.K. Rowling, she was a single mum living off welfare when she began writing the first Harry Potter novel. Okay, and now she's internationally renowned and she became the first billionaire author in 2004. Okay, so I just wanted to read some of those to show you, how much slip-ups are actually an important part of your journey and of your ultimate success as well. And I've got a nice pictorial representation that I thought you could all have. Okay, now this is just something that came off the internet, and it's a little representation of how we think our goals are achieved versus how they're actually achieved. Some of you have probably seen this floating around on Facebook before. Okay, so the top picture is how we think they're achieved. We think, it's going to be quite a nice smooth ride, a little bit of uphill, we know we'll have to push a little bit, but we'll be able to keep a smile on the face and get there in one piece, okay? The reality is more like the bottom picture. Okay, so you're going to be smashed about by waves, you're going to cross some shark-infested waters, you're going to fall into some quicksand, okay? People are going to tell you that you can't do things. It's going to feel hard. You're not going to want to get up in the morning. You're not going to feel motivated. You're going to get sick. All these things are going to happen, or at least some of them. Okay, they're all going to test your resilience. And this can... I don't want this to scare you off and be like, okay, I'm walking out the door now. I never want to achieve my goals because that really sucks. I don't want that. Okay, but let me tell you that the elation, the pride, the satisfaction that you will get from achieving those goals is absolutely second to none. Okay, nothing can compare to that. and you'll not be sorry about the journey along the way. And, hopefully you can actually come to terms with enjoying the journey a bit as well. And I've had to come to terms with that with being a mum, and enjoying the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride that it is. Same with writing and publishing my book last year. That's how I actually got this. My partner printed this off the internet for me. He was like, "Here." And I said, "Okay." And so I stuck it up above my laptop, and that's where it stays as a reminder. Because, I thought, I'm so excited. I've always wanted to write a book. I want to write 10 and publish 10 books. And I still want to do that. But it was a bit of a reality check that, things don't go as smoothly as you think they're going to. So, Sally, do you want to take those and just take one, pass them on? If you feel like that resonates with you, then perhaps stick that up somewhere prominent just as a reminder. So on those days when things aren't going to plan, just take one look at that and just remind yourself that tomorrow is not necessarily going to be that way. Okay. Now, I've got a few other words at the bottom here. Okay, drive, desire, determination, planning, focus, belief, resilience, discipline, perseverance, preparation. These are all things that you are going to need to be successful in achieving your goals. Okay, so those famous people that I read out and talked about, those people, they had all these characteristics as well. Okay, so they really, really, really wanted what it was they were trying to achieve. Okay, they had a very strong reason why. And sometimes I find people don't have a strong reason why. You need to have a strong reason why you want to achieve what you're doing. You need to actually believe that you can do it as well. That's very, very important. You need to stay focused. You need to say no to more things than you say yes to. Okay, so you need to be disciplined. You need to have some planning and preparation skills. And you need to really be resilient, okay, with all those ups and downs and things that are going to happen. And all the people that are going to tell you, that you can't do it. They're going to say, you always fall off the wagon. You can't do this, you can't do that. You're not going to get out of bed in the morning for that boot camp session. Okay, so you need to be resilient. So I just wanted to write those up and just kind of take note of them. And you're all good, Amy? Yeah. And if you think that you're lacking in one of those areas, maybe just note that down as well, because that may be something that you need to, do a little bit of personal development work on, talk to a coach about, because those sort of things are sort of like deep soul-searching things that you have to work out before you can move forward and find success in achieving your goals. Is everyone with me? Okay, so now we're going to look at some specific attitudes, okay, that are perhaps not so helpful, and then look at how we can reframe them and make them to be more helpful attitudes. So I wrote an example of a common slip-up attitude. I ate one piece of cake. I might as well eat the whole cake now. My healthy week is ruined. Can't let cake go to waste. I've got to eat the whole cake. Okay, so if that's, your sort of slip-up attitude, I had that piece of cake, I missed the exercise session, there are other ways that you can think, okay, ways that you can change your attitude. So an example of a different attitude would be, what a delicious piece of cake. I'm going to enjoy eating this cake because that's important. If you're going to have a piece of cake, enjoy it. There's not much point otherwise. And I'm going to share the rest of it with my work crew. Okay, I have a healthy dinner planned, so eating this cake won't affect my goal progress. Okay, see how that's just a different outlook. It's a different type of attitude. A couple of other examples. I missed my exercise session today, so I'm just not going to exercise again until next week because my whole plan's ruined because I had this little table drawn up of what I was going to do, and now I can't do that anymore. Okay, so you could reframe that. You could say, I missed my exercise session today. X happened. Okay, I'll put Y plan in place so it doesn't happen tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll push myself a little bit harder. Okay, so it's just a different way of looking at things. One more example that I hear sometimes is, I've got to I'm going to a party on the weekend, so I'll just write off the whole weekend in terms of being healthy. Who's said that before? Come on, admit it. It's like, oh, this is the biggest party of the year. Well, guess what? There's always parties that come up. There's always weddings. There's always celebrations, and that takes me back to thinking of that start Monday mentality. You can never wait to start till after this or after this, because there's always going to be more celebrations. But something that you could change that to is, I'm going to a party on the weekend. I'm going to enjoy a wine or two. I am going to eat a healthy meal before I go out, and I'm going to drink a big bottle of water before bed. And Jane is picking me up in the morning so that we can go hill walking. Okay, so that's about having a whole plan and thinking of it in a much more helpful and healthy way. Would you agree? Yeah. So I want you to start thinking, because you're going to write a few notes soon, just on any attitudes that you have personally that you think are currently a bit unhelpful, and ways that you might be able to reframe them. Okay. Before we do that, we'll have a look at some affirmations. Okay, now affirmations are basically statements that you read out loud, and it might sound a little bit cheesy, but there's been a lot of research that's been done that has shown that these are very, very effective in changing your thoughts. And how they actually work is they work to change your beliefs, which are the underlying reasons that you have these attitudes. So your beliefs are a combination of everything that you've seen, read, heard, and experienced to date. Okay, and that comes out in your attitude. And beliefs are very, very deep-seated. They're at the unconscious level, or subconscious level, so they can be very, very hard to change. Okay, but one way that you can start to change your beliefs is through these daily affirmations. Okay, and you need to think of something that's, resonates with you and that's empowering for you. So I've written some examples that are related to slip-ups. Okay, so it's okay to veer off track from my goals. I will recognise this and be able to get back on track because I have a plan in place for doing so. Okay, so this is, if you read something like that first thing in the morning, that would just frame you up to go, anything could happen today, but I have reminded myself that I am on a health and fitness plan, and these are my goals, and that I am going to get back on track when I do fall off. Okay, another one, failure is part of success. Every time I slip up, I will learn a lesson that will take me closer to success, and I will enjoy the journey along the way. So hopefully some of those examples have got you thinking. You should all have a piece of paper, and I want you to fill that in now. So the first part is just about your current attitudes that you have that you think might be holding you back. Okay, so I'll just put this one back just to remind you. Oh, yes. And then you need to think of a more helpful attitude that you could change it to. Okay, so I'll give you all a few minutes to do that. Oh, would it? Yeah, of course. Help yourself. I will send it to Bronnie then. Good. And then I'll just put those slip-up affirmations back, so remember to write something that resonates with you. If you can't think of anything now, then copy one of those and maybe change it and adapt it as your thoughts evolve. Does anyone want to share a slip-up attitude that they have that they know is not helpful? Anyone want to share? Don't have to share, but if feeling relaxed. And
My biggest is it doesn't matter, I'm fat anyway.
That's a really common one that I was going to mention later on, actually, and I have heard that before. I've always been overweight, I'll always be overweight. And that's an example of a belief. So that's been instilled in you probably from when you were really, really young and growing up. I mean, like I said, it's a culmination of everything that you've seen, read, heard, and experienced, whether that's people telling you that as you're growing up, or you seeing photos of yourself and that reinstill that belief. Okay, so that's a really important belief that you need to work on changing. Have you thought of a more helpful way to?
I may be fat now, but I won't always be, so it does matter. This food is not good for me.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, so I do actually matter, and if I crap, I'll feel crap.
Yeah, and I think it's good that you recognise, the situation as it is now, because it's important to recognise if you're not happy now. If you're like, I'm overweight now, then, you need to be accepting of that and be like, but it's not going to be like that in the future. Things can change, and they will change. Has anyone else got any that they want to share? And I realise these are personal, so thank you for...
I never finish anything I start.
It's another common one. And how could you reframe that?
Just one day at a time.
Just one day at a time, yeah. Perfect. I always finish everything I start. It doesn't matter if you don't believe it now, okay? Because, just read something that you don't believe every morning, because eventually you will start to believe it, okay? Even if you don't think that you will on the outside, underneath, your subconscious will start to believe it. And suddenly, your actions will start reflecting that, and then you'll start doing the things that you actually want to be doing, and you'll start getting the results that you want to get, and suddenly it will be true. Okay, so if you don't believe your affirmation that you're writing down at the start, it doesn't matter. Has everyone had a few minutes to write? I know not everyone's filled everything out, but you may take this away, and please do fill it in the next day or so that it is fresh in your mind. Okay, but you might want 24 hours to think about it, or to start brainstorming a whole lot of stuff. Cool. Okay, well, let's move on to the second part, which is barriers. Okay, so barriers are the things that get in the way of us achieving our goals. Okay, so they could be anything from lack of time, lack of money, the weather, family commitments. What are some other ones you want to think of? Health, yep, so getting sick or injured perhaps. There's lots of barriers that pop up. Earthquakes, that could be a barrier, I guess. So anything that might get in the way of you achieving your goals. Okay, now I want you to think about any barriers that have affected your progress in the past, okay, and whether they might still sort of pop up and affect your progress towards your goals, the ones that are most likely to affect you presently, and maybe ones that you haven't thought of yet, like what could pop up in the future, okay, that may have an effect on you. Now, I've sort of determined that barriers fit into three main categories, okay, attitudes and beliefs, which we've already talked about. This is just my own reasoning, my own idea. Planning, preparation and support, and knowledge, skills and desire. Okay, so attitudes and beliefs we have already talked about. So that might be I've always been overweight, so I'm always going to be overweight. I'm no good at sports because I never got picked for teams when I was a kid. Okay, that's another common one. So you need to first of all identify, you're probably going to have one or two main barriers, okay? Or maybe you've got more, maybe you've got a whole lot, I don't know. But try and pick the main sort of one or two. So you've got to think, do they fit into that category? Probably the biggest one that comes up in health and fitness is time. Okay, time gets away on everybody. Okay, I've ran out of time today. That's probably the biggest, most common one. Well, let me tell you that all those famous people that I talked about, they all have the same amount of time as you and I, okay? So they just chose to focus, to plan, and to prioritise. And, you know, I know that they have more, I guess, money, resources and support available to them now, but when they were travelling that bumpy road to success, they would have been equipped with a little more than you or I have now. Okay, so you may think that time is your biggest barrier, and if you do, then that's true, okay, but we'll call it perceived lack of time, okay, because there is something that you can do about it, and that's in terms of getting good at planning and preparation, getting good at saying no to things, decreasing the amount of stuff that's going on in your life, especially in this information age where we're absolutely overloaded with so much and you've got things flying at us all the time. Okay, you need to learn to say no to more than you say yes to. Okay, and planning and preparation are big ones in general, I think. You know, a lot of the time a goal is set with no real thought of the changes and the actions that are actually required in order to be able to achieve it. Okay, so planning, for example, is, you know, do you have the skill of being able to block out time in your calendar to go shopping, to cook meals, to block out your exercise plan and then actually stick to it and do it. Those are sort of planning skills. Preparation might be making sure, you know, that you've got the right workout gear that you need. It might be sleeping in your workout gear if that's what you need to get you up in the morning. It's preparing your lunch the night before, those sort of things. So they sort of tie in together. Support can be a big one for people as well. So if you have people in your life who are, you know, what we call energy vampires, who are constantly pulling you down, figure out how you can spend less time with those people. Hopefully they're not people that are really close to you. But, you know, that can be really hard when you're trying to push on and achieve a goal if there's a lot of negative people around you. Or it could just be that, you know, you're in a flatting situation and you're all eating together and the people that you're eating with have less healthy habits than you. So if you think, you know, support's one, then note that down when we get to that later. The other section, knowledge, skills and desire. I think knowledge and skills are probably the one that we can most easily affect ourselves. So knowledge is in terms of knowing what to do. Okay, so do you know the right type of exercise to do? Do you know what to eat? Okay, because if you don't, you can easily put yourself under the wing of a personal trainer, like Vicky, for example, and that, like I said, we've got a lot of information these days. Information is not hard to come by, so you can improve your knowledge, okay? But you may be lacking in the area at the moment, and that's fine. Skills is more like how to do something. So, well, I don't know how to cook. I know what I'm meant to eat, but I don't know how to cook. Again, those sort of things are quite easily fixed because you could enroll in a cooking class, for example. Desire is a very, very big one, okay? You need to really, really want what you're going for, and I believe that some people don't want their goals enough, and that's why they don't succeed. So you need to have a strong reason why, or why you don't want something. Some people are more driven towards, I guess, pleasure seeking, and some people are more driven towards pain avoiding. Okay, so pleasure seeking would be, you know, I want to achieve this goal because I want to look great and feel confident in my wedding dress. Okay, pain avoiding would be, I want to avoid the pain of having a heart attack or, you know, leaving my kids without a mum. Okay, that's pain avoiding. But what I can say is that your drivers, they must be long-term. So wanting to look great and feel confident in your wedding dress, that's a short-term desire, okay? Because when you reach that, what are you going to do then? Are you going to let yourself go into marriage and be like, oh, I achieved my goal? You know, it's got to be long-term. It's got to be ongoing, okay? So it's got to be, you know, I want to lose weight because I want to feel confident every day. I want to have energy every day. I want to be able to keep up with my kids and be alive, healthy and well at their 40th birthdays. Okay, that's what I want. Or it's got to be, if it's on the other side, you know, pain avoiding. So so I want to avoid ever having a lifestyle-related disease or having that heart attack or stroke or something like that. So you've got to make sure your desire is strong enough. You know, you can get people like a personal trainer to help you with this sort of area. Desire, you know, some personal trainers may be able to talk to you about that, like figuring out, you know, what's really important to you and why, or perhaps, you know, maybe more like a coach, someone that's got good talking skills. If your personal trainer's got good coaching skills, then they'll be able to help you. Otherwise, look for perhaps a wellness coach. So these are all the areas that I think. All of these encompass all the barriers that you're going to come up with. So hopefully you're starting to think about what your main barriers are. Now, the well-being model. So at Natural Balance Health and Fitness, I developed a holistic physical well-being model and determined that there's 6 main areas that need to be in balance in order for you to, you know, be fit, healthy and well. Okay, and these are outlined in my book as well. So it's exercise, nutrition, stress, sleep, thoughts and relationships. Okay, now they're all very intertwined. Okay, they all, once you're sort of out of whack in one area, it will have a knock-on effect to the other areas, but there's usually one area that gets most affected. Okay, so everyone's kind of got their area that they know they slip up in most, and for a lot of people it's nutrition. Okay, that's probably the most common one, but start thinking about which area of the wellbeing model you think gets most affected when your barriers pop up and you get off track. Okay, so I'm going to share my barriers with you. Okay, so hopefully you've got a little bit more of an overview before you go and write some of your ones down. Okay, and then we'll hear from Lisa after that. So the area of the wellbeing model that gets most affected for me is sleep. Okay, which is actually really weird for me because I've never had sleep problems before until I had my lovely child, and followed very closely by stress. So that's the second one for me. Okay, it probably helps that I've been in the fitness industry for so long that I do have quite good plans in place for the exercise and nutrition, have quite a good understanding of those. These ones are I'm still kind of learning and evolving. But let me just frame it up for you a little bit. So, as you know, gave birth to Ayla 18 months ago. All was sweet for the first few months, slept through the night, perfect little child. Come 6 months, waking through the night. 7 months, waking more. 8 months, waking every hour through the night. So 6 to 12 months, very, very challenging sleep time for me. Okay, she's waking every single hour. When she got to 8 months old, I started getting insomnia. Okay, so I think this was fueled a little bit by stress, you know, because it was the anticipation of her waking up, and as well as that, I was trying to write and publish my book, and I was like, you're disrupting my sleep, and now I can't write my book, and so it was all kind of getting fueled. You know, the stress was fueling the lack of sleep, and vice versa. And so I would go whole nights without sleeping, and I still do. Sometimes I haven't got on top of that yet. One time I actually went 4 nights in a row, pretty much, with not sleeping. Okay, so that was the extent of my insomnia. And this, believe me, this is really strange for me because I've never had problems getting to sleep or anything. Now, at about 12 months, I put some things in place that helped Ayla sleep, and she started sleeping through the night pretty much. Okay, she's had her moments since then with teething and stuff, and she does wake now, but it's, you know, maybe only once a night. So she's pretty sorted, but my sleep wasn't. So she was then sleeping through the night, and I was so used to waking and still kind of fueled by the stress that it took me another 2 months to start getting my sleep back. And it's pretty well back now, but it's still, but you know, I have my up and down times as well. So, you know, you might say, oh, simple, you know, fix the sleep. Okay, it's not that simple. I've read a lot of books. I've tried a lot of meditation, a lot of relaxation. I've tried some supplements. I've tried this and that, and you know, I have realised ultimately that it's in my own head. Even when I feel like I'm totally relaxed, sometimes I'm still wired, and you know, and I need to learn how to switch that off. And that's a gradual process that I've got to realise that it is gradual. You know, it's not It's not going to happen. It's making progress. Progress, not perfection. Okay, but it's not the sleep that's the problem, and it's not Ayla that's the problem. She's gonna do her thing. Sometimes you just have to come from a place of acceptance with that. And so after much deliberation and thought, I highlighted two main barriers that were causing these problems with the sleep. That would then have a knock-on effect to everything else. Because, for example, with nutrition, when you haven't slept, I want to eat every piece of processed carbohydrate in sight. Okay, and that is not like a lack of drive or a lack of determination. Okay, that is a chemical thing that goes on. Your brain wants a quick fix solution when you haven't slept. Okay, and processed or just just high carbohydrate food is that quick fix. Okay, so I determined that the two main barriers were my own attitude, okay, and a lack of support. Okay, so my own attitude, because when I would wake up in the morning, or not wake up, it would just become morning and I was still awake, and I was being all like zen-like through the night, and just breathing, trying to meditate and relax. But then I would wake up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I actually have to get up now and I have to face the day. And I would start the day with a very negative attitude. And I would be like, how am I going to get everything done today that I'm meant to do? And how am I going to publish this book? And it doesn't even make any sense. And how am I going to be, a loving mother when I can't be bothered playing with my child? I'd wake up either really tired or really wired. And really wired isn't good either, because I feel kind of slightly off, just a bit nauseous all day. So yeah, I'd wake up with a negative attitude. So that was the first barrier that I identified. I'll tell you what I did in terms of strategy a little bit later, but we'll just say that's the first one. The second one was support, okay, lack of support. So they say that it takes a village to raise a child, and most people raising a child these days don't have a village. Okay, so we don't have any family in town. My partner, he needs to prioritise being fresh for work in the morning, so generally I would get up in the night, but he is good if I want him to get up in the night, but when I've got insomnia, there's no point in getting him up anyway if he's sound asleep. But I couldn't just call up my mum or anything and be like, can you come and look after Ayla the next day so that I can rest? Okay, so determined lack of support and my own attitude. Okay, but the one that I decided to focus on was my attitude. Why do you think that might be? That's the one that I can change. It's the one I can have an effect on, is my attitude. And I have a feeling that a lot of people in this room, attitude will be a part or the whole part of the problem, okay? Because once I started focusing on my attitude, the lack of support, it didn't even matter anymore, okay? So I just wanted to explain that to show, identified those ones, and then I decided this is the one I'm going to focus on. And I'll tell you what I did soon. Just want you to spend a few moments now. I know some of you have been jotting down things already, but just to note down the last 2 points at the bottom of the page there about your own barriers. I know some of you have already written those down, so does anyone have any of their own barriers that they want to share?
My biggest one is my attitude and my thoughts, because something will go wrong and I'll just go, well, you down myself and think about it with a bad thing rather than something that actually wasn't achieved.
Yeah, and like I said before, I think that is one that's probably the most common for everyone, and Lisa sort of touched on that as well, and that's what I was talking about your own attitude, and that's really the one that you can change the most. And luckily, the next seminar is all geared around positive thinking and the way that you actually think. Okay, so negative nelly no more.
Where would you put motive?
I think that could come under attitude, desire a little bit. Yeah, it depends. I just write lack of motivation.
So really but everything's just too hard for us.
Yeah.
So,
yes, sometimes with the lack of motivation, there's a lot of things that you need to look at. And that's what the third seminar is on, is motivational tips for success. And, and a part of that is figuring out, why you're doing it and why it's important to you. So it's looking at the deeper stuff before you look at sort of the surface tips of what you can do to help motivate yourself.
just in saying when you said there's too many things, so it's too hard. So just take one thing, anyone, and fix that, the rest of that. Just take one thing out of you know, and work on it.
There's a quote there on the front that I had, which is success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Okay, my cousin, she's doing the Jump Free June thing at the moment, and I just wrote a note on her Facebook page yesterday, and I just told her that it's taken me years and years to overhaul my cupboards. It hasn't happened overnight. It's been like, I've switched this for this, and it's not like I cleared out my whole cupboard and got in a whole lot of new ingredients that at that point in time I wouldn't have known how to use or what to do with. It all just happened really, really gradually, and it became a habit along the way. So yeah, small changes. We're just going to move on to the last section now because we are running a bit short on time, and that is around strategies. Okay, so now you've looked at your attitudes, you've looked at your barriers. Now it's time to make sure that you've got a plan in place so that when these slip-ups do occur, when these barriers come up, that you know what you're going to do about them. Now you know about my situation with the sleep and the stress being my main sort of problem areas. So I'm just going to talk you through my own example, and then you can start to formulate your own strategy for what you're going to do. Okay, so the first point at the top is it says, what's your high-risk situation? So mine is a poor night's sleep. So it's after I've woken up, or when it just becomes morning and I haven't woken up, I've had that poor night's sleep. Okay, so the result is that I feel really tired or really wired. I tend to think really negatively about the day. So, and then I risk, eating every processed carbohydrate in sight when I'm run by the dairy and grab a bag of lollies. Okay, that would be my result. And and I would feel bad about that. I would then feel stressed about that. I feel stressed about all the things that I don't have the energy to do or motivation to do in the day that I had planned to do, and I would start resenting Ayla if she had been waking up all through the night and I had been sleeping, and it's either she's not sleeping or I'm not sleeping, one or the other. Okay, so that's the result. The result should include some sort of emotional thing, I guess, about how you feel. Okay, but I have a plan in place so that I don't derail for the whole day. Okay, so basically what I do now is I think differently when I wake up in the morning. The first thing I do is I go, I had a crappy night's sleep, and sometimes I get upset about that, okay, and I have a few tears, and I go to see my partner, because sometimes I'm in the other room, because I've been like, you're snoring and that's why I can't sleep, and so we have a cuddle or whatever, and he tells me that it's going to be fine. But that's important for me to feel that way first. And then the most important thing that I have done to change my attitude is I go, Ellie, this has happened a number of times before, and every time you were fine, you had plenty of energy to do what you wanted to do. You got done all the most important things. Okay, so that's the single most important thing that I've changed. It is this tiny, small way of changing my thoughts as well. So it wasn't like, oh no, I'm fine. It was like, I had a crappy night's sleep, but then it's not like, oh, how am I going to get through the day? How am I going to do this? It's like, Ellie, you are going to be totally fine because you've done this a number of times before. Okay? So it's just that really simple thought, and then I just start going about my day. And what I do is I go, I'm going to do this today, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do this. So I just cut my day by about half, okay, in terms of my expectations on what I'm going to get done. In terms of my nutrition, I make sure that I have healthy food on hand. As I said before, having a poor night's sleep means that I want carbohydrate. That's all I want. Okay, there's nothing I can do about that, but what I can do is I can make sure that I've got healthy carbohydrate options on hand. So what I do is I have raw nuts, I have almond milk, dates, bananas. Dates and bananas are very sweet, so all those things mixed together make a great smoothie. Okay, so my bananas and my dates, they live in the freezer. Okay, so they're always there. It's not like I have to go, I forgot how to get bananas or dates. Okay, they're there ready to go in the smoothie. The nuts and the almond milk, they're in the cupboard, they're long life. So it's not like I have to, make sure that I'm prepared for those. And it takes 2 seconds and I whiz them together in a smoothie, really nice and sweet. Okay, the second thing that I make sure is I've always got one of Dr. Livy's raw fruit slices in my freezer, and it lives in my freezer. Okay, so when I want something sweet, pull those out. Now what she does is she sweetens things with honey and maple syrup, and pretty much made from nuts and seeds, so very, very nutritious food. So I feel like I'm having a really nice sweet treat, and I am, but it's as nutritious as having a meal. Third, I get a box of organic fruit and vegetables delivered to my house every single week. Okay, so every single week I have things like apples and mandarins on hand to satisfy those sweet cravings. Okay, so I've got things on hand and they're still healthy, and means that I don't need to go to dairy or want to go to dairy. So that's in terms of my nutrition. Exercise, I just decrease my expectations. If I had a run planned, I walk. Okay, and I make sure that I walk because that makes me feel better mentally, gives me fresh air, gets us out of the house. Okay, but I don't have that expectation on myself to run, and I know that a lot of people have this problem is that they feel they need to push themselves, and I don't have that problem. Like, I know that walk is going to serve me a lot better. It's going to be a lot better for my body. My body's going to be able to actually keep functioning properly if I walk instead of run. Okay, so if you've got that kind of belief that, I must exercise hard for it to be effective, no. If I had planned to go to a resistance training class or something, I might just do a few squats and push-ups at home, and that might be 10 minutes. But then I feel better after that, and I'm okay with it. So it's about doing something that's actually going to serve my body. In the evening, I have a tendency to work. Okay, I have a rule that, now, because of all the sleep problems, that I do turn the computer off by 8:30. But on a night, if I've had a poor night's sleep, the next day I'm like, you do not work in the evening. There is no work in the evening. As soon as I was in bed at 7, I pour myself, it's this little routine, pour myself a cup of herbal tea, and I get a book and I sit down, and then I go to bed at 8:30. Okay, so that's what happens the night after an insomnia type night. Okay, so it's quite a lot of points, which is why you need to then break down those steps. So an example, so that, just do one step the first week, do one step the second week, one step the third week. So for me, for example, the first week step might be on Monday after work, I'm going to go online and I'm going to look at the organic fruit and vegetable delivery site. I'm going to select a box and I'm going to create a standing order. But I actually have to put that on my calendar, to remember to do that. And then once that's done, that's a thing that goes on forever. It's a standing order. Get charged every week or whatever. It's not something I ever have to think about. That box turns up every Thursday on my doorstep. Okay, but the first step is I have to block out time to actually go online and do that. Okay, the second week, for example, for me might be, luckily I've already done all these things, so might be I'm going to look for, on Monday after work, I'm going to look for a raw food slice recipe, so I'm going to block out 30 minutes and I'm going to look online or flip through my recipe books, and I'm going to choose one. Okay? On Tuesday after breakfast, I'm going to amend my shopping list. So I'm going to include the ingredients that I need for that raw food slice. I'm going to add some dates and bananas so I can keep them in the freezer. So it's just 30 minutes, even 10 minutes of time to amend my shopping list. And then on Thursday, I'm going to go shopping. Okay? And that might sound like lots in one week, but I already go shopping on a Thursday. It's already a part of my habit, so that's why I can sort of include both of those things in a week. It won't seem like too much. Okay, and then in the third week, because my shopping's arrived the week before, I'm going to set aside some time to actually make that raw food slice. Okay, so I'm going to make Dr. Livy's slice. I'm going to do that on a Sunday morning because that's when I have free time, and I don't want to leave it till the end of the day because then it will feel like a chore. Okay, so that's my one step that I do on week 3. So you'll see there that you've got to break down. What am I going to do in week 1, week 2, and week 3? And the good thing is that these sort of strategies that you create, they're going to cross over to other high-risk situations. So you may only need to identify a few high-risk situations, one this month, one the next month, and then suddenly you will have created all these new healthy habits, and things will be just happening by themselves as well. So, can't stress enough, do go small. If you find that you haven't achieved what you wanted to at the end of the month, then you need to go back and, if it was a all over the place month because someone passed away or you got really sick or something like that, then do aim to do those points again. But if you're like it was just too much, then break it down and do less, okay, because that's how you're going to find success. So let me just give you just a few moments to let that sink in and to write a few notes down. You probably will need to finish this off at home, but write a few notes down and we'll just finish up so you can put in questions. So just think about that over the next day or so. I do want you to make sure that you complete this within the next day so that it is fresh in your mind. But yeah, we have come to the end of the seminar this evening, and I will be around afterwards. So if anyone's got questions or we just want to stay and chat, then please do come and talk to me. But just to let you know, I hope you guys have enjoyed this evening. I hope you have got some thought-provoking stuff out of it. I do have 3 more seminars coming up. So the next one is Negative Nelly, No More. So it's a month from now. It's the first Thursday of July. The next one after that is Motivational Tips for Success. And then the last one is Stress-Busting Solutions for a Healthy Toned Body. Okay, so some of you have booked in for all of them. Some of you just booked in for this evening. You can book in for one or for all 3. Please come talk to me at the end. If you want to, I do have just some feedback forms too. If you could just take a couple of minutes to fill those in, those would be much appreciated. Thank you so much for coming this evening, and I'm sorry we don't have time to open up for questions, but do come to me individually for questions, just so I know there's something that will need to go now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellie.
Help myself to anything on the table, except for my books.